Hey guys and gals, today I'll share with you my thoughts on this beautiful Beretta 92X performance. Just got back from the range, shot like 500 rounds, so these are my initial thoughts and hope you like it. So before I show you the gun, just want to point out, look at this case, will ya? I think that this case looks great. This is my first Beretta, so didn't know what to expect. But in my personal opinion, I think it looks gorgeous, way better than the case I got from ZZ. And for the gun itself, let's open the case. There it is. Let's put the case away. And here you go. This is the 92X performance. Safety check. No bullet, just my dummy round right there. So we're good. So for some of you who I believe have a very canine, very observant, no, this is not the grip came with it. This is actually an option. It came with these little plastic thing here, and with that, the back part here is a little bit flat and doesn't have the ridge like this extra grip that I put in. My thought with that was that the grips that it came with was fairly comfy. This is just my opinion based on my hands, and I don't really have a very big hand. With this new grip, however, it feels a little bit bulky, but it's still also comfy. It kind of like reminds me of my ZZ Acer 1 LD, although the feeling on that grip with that particular handgun is not as big, so it's really comfortable. Before I move any further, I just want to share with you my thoughts on why I got this gun. I don't know if I've shared it in my previous videos before. I've always wanted to own a Beretta. The reason behind that is that as a when I was a young boy, my father owned Berettas, and I was introduced for the very first time shooting a handgun with a Beretta. So as I became an adult, was able to purchase my own handguns. I started collecting the ones that I really like. And then I just realized that I haven't had a Beretta yet, and so I made sure that I get one just for sentimental reasons. So with that, I went to a local gun store, and they have a pretty good selection of beautiful, hard to find handguns here in Canada. And my choices were really between the Langdon Tactical LTT, the I think it's M9A3, and of course this is the third one. And I played around with it and did a trigger pull, just playing with the trigger, doing the slides, and needless, long story short, I end up with this. So people might ask why choose this over the other two Berettas. One of them is the M9A and the Langdon Tactical LTT, which is very famous. Everybody loves it. A lot of the local shooters that shoots Beretta own the Langdon Tactical. But personally, and this is just my opinion, I prefer the smoothness on the trigger on this gun. And if you see the reset here, see if you can see that right there, and that's the wall right away, and you can just shoot it right after. Beautiful. So what are my initial thoughts on this gun after shooting 500 rounds? I'll share with you the things that I really love about this gun. Needless to say, one is that the gun is pretty heavy, not as heavy as my ZZ Acer 1 LD. It's very close, but it's slightly lighter. It is a little bit heavier than the ZZ Shadow 2. This is as you all know, a steel frame gun. So the recoil here is very manageable, of course. So the front side is carbon fiber in red, measures 1.5 millimeters. It's pretty much like the standard nowadays in competition pistols or range pistols or for plinking type kind of deal. Here in Canada, we don't have defensive handguns in a way because we're not allowed to use handguns for defensive reasons. I love this beefy front slide. It's a Brigadier, really beefy, over-engineered in my opinion, and over-engineering is a plus in my book. There it is. The slide is very, very smooth right there. No complaints. Some of the most common questions I get asked, especially when I was shooting this at the shooting range today, people noticed this gun. They were asking what kind of Beretta this is. They said it's kind of like a 92, but it's not necessarily just a plain 92. They said it's not a Langdon Tactical, and I told them they're right. It's not a Langdon Tactical, nor it is a regular Beretta 92. And the most common questions I got asked by about like 5 people today while I was shooting them, and they said, is the gun accurate? I can pretty much tell you without a doubt that this gun is very, very accurate. The only problem is the shooter. In that case, is me. They saw that when I was actually paying attention in shooting, I actually shot like 6 rounds in a row, and they're all pretty much like in almost one hole, maybe a deviation of maybe a mil or two left and right. But everybody was impressed. I was impressed, and so I feel that this gun is very accurate. And the only thing that would not make it accurate is the shooter, and in this case, it's me. So the other thing that I like about this gun is the fact that it has an adjustable rear sight, so you can adjust for windage and elevation if the sight is not properly aligned to the point of impact. So when I shot it, the first thing I did was make sure that it's actually hitting where I'm aiming it at, and it's just perfect. Now I'd like to share with you some of the things that I feel is not too hot about this gun. We'll start with just an opinion. The grips, I'm still trying to figure out if I really like it or not. It's okay in my hand. I have a medium-sized hand. It's not pretty big. It's not really an issue. It just feels different. And maybe that's because I shoot predominantly the ZZ nowadays. And so my hand is kind of like used to the shape of ZZ. So when I use this extra grip that came with the gun, it made it like closer because of this part right here that kind of like bulges a little bit. So it feels a little bit like my ZZ, but putting this on makes the grip a little bit bigger. So my thoughts on that, it's still out there. It's not really an issue. It's just like a preference type kind of deal. More about the grip that came with the gun. I feel it's just not grippy or tacky enough for my taste. So if this grip that I installed, the one that came with it as an extra, still has the same issue, I might just go ahead and change it with a G10 from Lock Grips or other manufacturer that sells and make them. Nonetheless, it didn't really affect the shooting and capabilities of the gun. I was still happy with my little mini session today. So not a big deal. Now let's talk about the things that I wasn't really impressed. I don't know if I was shocked or disappointed. Maybe a little bit of those things. So I have been shooting this factory round from Winchester. It's 115 grain. The reason I am shooting that right now, it's because lately it's been on sale. So I was able to purchase a few of them. I've shot over 2,000 rounds of those on my ZZ-A01LD with 0 issues. So I thought, why not use this for my Beretta? So the issue came at around about 100 rounds, about 2 of those boxes. When I shot the magazine that I just inserted, it shot the first 2 rounds, and then on my 3rd shot, it failed to load the the ammo, and that's because the shell on the second shot failed to eject. So the first thing that went through my mind was like, that's strange. I really didn't expect that because I've heard so many glowing reviews, and even from people locally that just swear by this gun or this, Beretta 92s in general. So what I did is I just cleared the gun, removed the spent case, and just put the magazine back, and it shot fine again. But the thing is, right about another 100 rounds, maybe 150, because by then I've used about 5 of those boxes. It happened again for the exact same thing. One of the range officer that was just watching that time when I was shooting just asked me what happened, and I showed him, and he was like, did you put enough lube on the slide? And I said yes, and he said, well, that's kind of like strange, but maybe things like this happen. So I know for some of you Beretta shooters there, you probably have not experienced any of this. I don't know what happened. I'm just like thinking maybe because the gun is still new, but then I realized that having shot over 2,000 rounds when my ZZ or ZZ A01 LD was fairly new, I had 0 issues like this. So then the other minor thing, this is just nitpicking, is that if you lock the slide, I was just checking the hand fitment. Like I said, I've never owned a Beretta before. But I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's like a little play. No biggie. I was just expecting that it's gonna be the same as my other guns that are really, really tight. You can't even wiggle it, but not a big deal. Like I said, it's just a little nitpicking of that issue, minus the ones that I was talking earlier about the failed to eject spent case. I have to kind of like look into that further. Hopefully it's just something that's just getting out of the system, so that once it's broken in, it's probably not going to happen again. Having shot 500 rounds, I think it's pretty close to getting broken in. Then I will definitely do a follow-up and see how this gun performs. And that's my initial thoughts after shooting 500 rounds of this gun. I think the Beretta 92 X Performance is an excellent gun overall. Only time will tell if that issue that I have encountered today will persist. If it does, then I'll look into it further and maybe talk to experts and find out what's wrong with it. However, no doubt in my mind that maybe shooting another 1,000 or 2, that I'm hoping that's not going to be an issue. Without a doubt, this gun is very accurate. The trigger is great, and that's one of the reasons why I purchased in the first place. And anyone who's considering this gun, I would tell you that it is worth the consideration. If you can hold it in your hand, you'll know what I'm talking about. So thanks for taking the time to give this video a watch. This is the Beretta 92 X Performance. We'll see you next time.